Good morning, everyone. We are approaching this week the month of Nisan. The month of Nisan is a very, very particular month. On one hand, it is the month of miracles, the month that made us who we are as a nation, and therefore the month of Nisan is during Chodesh HaAviv. Chodesh HaAviv literally means the month of spring, the time of spring. Indeed, we find that the Torah says that you should celebrate Passover during the month of spring, during springtime. And since we follow the lunar calendar, and the lunar calendar has a difference of about 10 to 11 days with the solar calendar, so if we were to follow the lunar calendar without adding an extra month every 2 or 3 years, during the month of Adar, adding an extra month of Adar, we would be in a situation where sometimes we would celebrate Pesach, Passover, during the summer, and sometimes during the winter, and sometimes during the spring. Therefore, there says that you should specifically celebrate the holiday of Pesach during the springtime. And because it says you should do it during the springtime, that's why we added the month of Adar. During this month, the month of Nisan, we are just like a reflection. Nature is a reflection of who we are and who we become. This is the time where the trees start blossoming, and this is the time where every single one of us blossoms. Not only that, it explains in Kabbalah that the zivug, there is what we call a zivug, there is what we call a spiritual union that happens between our souls and its emanation, its source. This union happens during Shemini Atzeret, during the time of Simchat Torah. The birth of this union and this whole time from Shmini Atzeret to the 7th day of Pesach is a moment of gestation for the soul to be born again. During Pesach, at the moment of the splitting of the sea on the 7th day of Pesach, our neshamot, what was conceived during Simchat Torah, Shmini Atzeret, is going to be revealed during this time and give us a new power. I want to tell you that I did not think of speaking about this, but somewhere, as I'm speaking and I'm listening to the words which are coming out of my mouth, I realize that Pesach is going to be a very, very important holiday this year, because that union of our soul with a new level of energy, a spiritual a level of energy that was given to it to be able to permit it to grow and to be born again, happened Shmini Atzeret. We all know what happened on the 7th of October. So this was a very traumatic moment, but at the same time a painful moment, which means that during Pesach there is something which is going to be the conclusion of what happened on the 7th of October. Let's stay tuned. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just saying what's coming to my mind at this moment, and I'm sharing with you this idea, this concept. What's very interesting is that this is the month on which the Torah says, HaChodesh hazeh lachem rosh chodashim, rishon hu lechodshei hashana. This month is the first of all the months of the year. Rishon hu lechodshei hashana. And therefore it is the month that influences the whole year. Every Rosh Chodesh, every month has its source of energy in the first day of the month called Rosh Chodesh. All the Rosh Chodeshes of the year get their energy from the month of Nisan. In the olden days, Nisan was not only the birth of the Jewish people and the first of all months, not only for the Jewish people, but for all nations. That's why when the Torah speaks about the month of Rosh Hashanah, and it says on the 7th month, you will blow the shofar. Why does it say on the 7th month you will blow the shofar? Because the first month is Nisan. So the 7th month you will blow the shofar. When does Rosh Hashanah always fall? During the month of September. September, which comes from the Latin septo, followed by octo, which means 8, and followed by November, which is nueve, which is 9, followed by December, which is 10, which is 10. After that, they changed the months because they didn't want to follow the Jewish calendar. But anyways, what happens during this month is that this is the month of HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem. The Torah says this month is yours. Well, let's explain. The word Chodesh in Hebrew at the same time can be read, the way it's spelled, can be read Hadash, renewal. This renewal is yours. During the month of Nisan, we have the power to renew ourselves, to become new people. Not to change who we are, but to renew our connection, to revive what has been concealed, consumed, contained, veiled, and hidden. And we are able to actually bring it and actualize it. And therefore, this is a very, very, very potent month. And that's why our sages teach us that the word Nisan, which is the name of this month, starts with the letter Nun, Nisan, and finishes with the letter Nun, Nisan. To tell us that this is Nisim Veniflaot. There is here the concept of miracles and wonders. What is the definition of a miracle? The definition of a miracle is something which is above nature. There's certain things that we can naturally not do because we are stuck sometimes. And that's why, by the way, Rabbi Yeshua in the Talmud says that when he read the Torah, instead of reading the word HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, he had a moment where he read it, and he read it in a different way. He, instead of reading HaChodesh, the month, he read HaCheresh, death. And afterwards, instead of reading Hazeh, he read Haya, was. And then instead of reading Lachem, he read the word Libam, because the letters look alike. Their heart. He says their heart was deaf. What happens is sometimes you have a situation where your heart is deaf. You don't see that you can progress. We are just like the war. We see that we are progressing, but at the same time we're losing so many people, God forbid, and so many soldiers, and so many mistakes are being made, and the pressure and the international pressure in our lives, sometimes it feels exactly the same way. We want to break out of certain habits. We want to break out of certain things that we've indulged in, or certain negative thoughts, or a certain ways of speaking and acting. And unfortunately, we don't feel that we have enough air. We don't have enough. We're suffocating by the situation. We're being suffocated by the situation. And we often go back to bad habits. During this month, HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem, this renewal, this month is yours. Every day of the month has the power of Rosh Chodesh. Every day of the month, the Zohar says that during Rosh Chodesh, the first day of the month, a Jew is given an extra dimension of his soul. It's like, imagine, not only have more battery in your phone, you have more battery in your soul, you have access to something which is much deeper that normally you don't have access to. And that is something which is very, very, very powerful and very potent. And therefore we must take advantage of these days, the days of Nisan, in the way we act and what we do. So somebody asked me yesterday, Rabbi, this is such a potent month and there's such a great power in this month. What do I need to do every day? So, what is a miracle? Since this is the month of miracles, let's address that and then we'll know what we need to do. A miracle is basically going above any laws of nature. There's a natural order of things, and there's things that happen above nature. Since God is our mirror, since Shlomo HaMelech says that just like the face reflects in the water, so to the heart of man to man. So it says in Chassidut, in Kabbalah, who is that man? Who is that reflection that is reflecting our image? It is the purity of the Ein Sof, the purity of the infinite light of God, which reflects our infinite potential. The moment that we want God to reflect to us, we need to be the starters. We need to be the vessels. In order for us to be the vessels, we need to start a process of creating a miracle. I would like you to think for a second right now of something that you can do which is above nature. Above your nature. Outside of your comfort zone. What can you do right now which is going to be a daily thing outside of your comfort zone? Which means, for a person, it's going to be giving. In general, giving is something outside of the comfort zone. It could be giving money every day, trying to find how I can give to another charitable cause, to poor people, to help them for Pesach, for example, to buy shmura matzah and to make sure that my neighbors have matzah, to give a call and to encourage people and give them a Haggadah of Pesach, matzah and wine, invite them to your seder. Be on the lookout for people who need. Once you go out of yourself, you go out of your nature and you say, this is what I'm going to go do till Pesach, you are creating a miracle in yourself. You're not used to studying, you study every day for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You're not used to taking the time to calm down without your phone when you're speaking to your child or you're doing something. Disconnect from your phone. Do something that's going to really, each one knows what is the most drastic thing. For a person, it's not serving yourself a second plate. For another one, it's just leaving something in your plate and just breaking the nature. Once you break your nature, you get out of yourself in a positive way. At that moment, you are actually creating a vacuum. You understand that, for example, this cup, the cup that I'm presenting right here in front of you, can only contain this. Now, if I empty the cup, at that moment, it now became a vessel to contain much more. You have to empty yourselves of your ego, empty yourself of your habit, and say, I'm going to flex a little. I'm going to stretch out of my habit. I usually run for breakfast. I'm going to wait 5 minutes and say Tehillim for our brothers in Israel. I usually respond to my spouse, to my child, or to whatever the situation is in a mean way. I'm going to stop and hold myself for 5 minutes and then respond in a mean way. No. And then respond however is going to be the proper way to respond. It's a question basically of staying focused on what your mission is. The month of Aviv, very interesting because this month is called Chodesh Aviv, the month of spring. If you look at the letters, the first 2 letters of the word Aviv, it's Aleph, Bet. If you look at the month of Tishrei, which is the month in which we blow the shofar and we celebrate Rosh Hashanah, it starts with the last 2 letters of the Aleph Bet, not with the first 2 letters, which means Tav, Shin. What does that indicate? During the month of Rosh Hashanah, Tishrei, Tav, Shin, we are going from the bottom, from the last letters, up towards God. During the month of Nisan, Aleph, Bet, Hashem comes down to us, to our reality. So let me ask you, if you knew that tomorrow you have Hashem coming to your house during the month of Nisan, God is going to literally go and this infinite light is going to give you the power to be able to make miracles in your life. How and what is it you would change in the atmosphere and in the way your house conducts itself? We do this on the eve of Pesach when we check our house for chametz and we decide to rid ourselves of all ego, all leaven, and all types of things which are a cause of negativity. Once we get this away, we welcome the matzah, which represents humility. Let me ask you, if there's something you need to change in your house, what would it be? Let me share with you something that happened some 15 years ago. I do not advise you to do this, right? But I advise you to do something not as extreme as what I did. And certainly it will change a lot of what's happening in your house. What happened is that at the time, my children had a cell phone with access, obviously, to Facebook. That was the only social media platform at the time. And YouTube. Now, trips to the restroom, instead of lasting 3 minutes, would last half an hour. The interaction in the house was one where everybody lived their individual life as if we were all sharing a common space, but not a common goal and a family environment. So one Friday I got fed up and I sent on the group chat, I sent to everyone, I am not coming home for Shabbat. It was on Friday. I'm not coming home for Shabbat till everybody here on this chat agrees that whatever social media they want to do, they need to do it outside of the house. No more YouTube, no more Facebook, no more nothing. When we're in the house, you can't see anything that's outside. You're in the house. I want to tell you, I made a lot of unhappy children. But after 2 weeks, I regained my family. Suddenly, I was able to see eye to eye with my kids, and everything started to connect in a good, harmonious way. I'm not telling you to be so extreme because I don't know if it would work. It worked 15 years ago. I don't know if it will work today. One thing I will tell you, that actually putting certain boundaries and limitations so that when you are communicating, what do you want to create? You want to create an environment that when you're eating as a family, there is no distraction that's taking you away from your family. When you are speaking to a child, to your spouse, When you're spending time with yourself, throw it away. Connect fully with the moment. Why? Because when you are well connected, when the wires are well tightened together, when the current will come, it's going to be unobstructed. And then you will be able to enjoy all the benefits of having that current, that connection. During the month of Nisan, this is a moment where there's a tremendous current of a power which is above nature, which is going to want to connect to us. This is what I'm telling you. Go out of yourself, create the miracle, take away the obstruction, take away the veil, take away the addiction. Give yourself now 30 days of the month of Nisan where you're just going to be focused on your higher self. Let me explain. There's a discussion in the Talmud between Rabbi Yehoshua and Rabbi Eliezer. When was the world created? And specifically, when was man created? Was man created on the first day of Nisan? Or was man created on the first day of Tishrei, which is Rosh Hashanah? What are they arguing about? They're arguing about the intention that God had. Rabbi Yehoshua is saying that the intention of God was really to create us in this month, the month of Nisan, the month of miracles. But according to Rabbi Eliezer, he says, no. We were actually created in Tishrei. They're not arguing. One is talking about the actual creation. The other one is talking about the intention that God had. The actual creation came with the creation of the world, of the universe. Because our bodies are within the realm of physicality, and this is our terrain to operate and to act and to actualize ourselves. But what is God's intention? How does God look at you? God looks at you and me as beings which are completely not ruled by nature. Just open any history book. Look at the amount of civilizations which are gone, which have tried to oppress us and destroy us and are not here. And we are here. This is the true intention that God has. When He looks at us, He looks as beings which are completely above nature. And therefore, as we're about to get that gift of energy, spiritually, financially, in every aspect, which is above nature, it's now time to empty our cup of our habits, present a cup as empty as possible, so it can be filled with something which is much higher than any type of habit. This is the month of Nisan. And therefore, this is the month where we say a special bracha, a special blessing on fruit-bearing trees that start blossoming. Because when you see the trees blossoming, you are actually, it says that man is Etz Hasadeh. He is the tree of the field. Every single one of us is actually that, like that tree. Our roots are very anchored, but at the same time, we are able to give fruit. I want to share with you something in agriculture which is called dry farming. I speak about it in my book, To Be or To Become. Available online. This is a non-paid commercial. To be or to become, develop the power of positive perspective. So, what happens is that there is what we call the concept of dry farming. You take a tree, and that tree is a small tree. It's planted. You water it for a few months, sometimes a full year. And once the tree is well anchored into the ground, even though it's a small tree, you stop giving it water. That's pretty cruel. But what happens at that moment? The tree is in a quandary. The tree doesn't know what to do with itself. Should I continue growing? I don't have any water. How am I going to get water? So the tree starts with its roots looking for water. It finds those sources here and there, but it's not enough. The tree is growing. And at that moment, when it's digging for water and the branches and roots are growing, it hits a platform of stone. And the stone is very thick. And the little branches are not going to be able to break the stone. Maybe I should just give up, commit suicide, and just let it go. But that's not what the tree decides to do in most cases. The tree decides to grow stronger branches, stronger roots, and with these stronger roots, it tries to grow till it's going to break through. Just like sometimes we walk in the street and we see by the sidewalk, a crack because it comes from the root of a tree. So at that moment, once it breaks through the stone, it's attached to the source of water, and now it's independent of everyone. I can grow, I can give fruit, I can be completely independent. This is the optimum type of life that a tree wants. The lesson of the month of Nisan, especially in the first days where we bless the trees, we should find 2 trees which are blossoming and say a special blessing on it. This is the time, and we have to look at ourselves and say, how am I blossoming? Every Nisan there's a renewal of trees, there's a renewal of nature. When is my renewal of myself? How am I transforming myself? Where are my roots? Of course, you understand that when you put a seed in the ground, it rots, but the rotting is a process that creates a catalyst reaction that permits the flourishing of the tree, the flower, the fruit, or whatever it is. Are you ready to make this commitment? So I would like you to conclude this class to take a moment and think of one ritual, whatever it is. I'm going to actually share a story with you and hopefully inspire you to take this ritual upon yourselves. And use that ritual as the anchor which is going to make your roots grow and be successful. A group of the young UJA, United Jewish Appeal leadership, came to see the Rebbe. And one of them said to the Rebbe, I heard that you can perform miracles. Is that true? The Rebbe said that every single one of us has a soul, and that soul is connected to infinity. It's part of God, the creator and the master of the whole cosmos. And therefore, every one of us can perform a miracle. And then the boy didn't understand that. That's it. No more questions. He asked another question. He said, Rebbe, can you perform a miracle for us right here, right in your office? And the Rebbe said, with pleasure. No, the desk did not start levitating. That's not what happened. What happened is that the Rebbe said, I'm going to ask all of you here in the room, before you go to sleep, to ask yourself how tomorrow you could be a little better than today. And that will be the greatest of all miracles. Imagine what would happen, my dear friends, and thank you for joining at this hour of the morning on a Friday. It's always a pleasure to see all of you. Imagine if every day you would take, not on Shabbat and Yom Tov, you would take the time to take a piece of paper, preferably, and before you go to sleep and say, what are my 3 accomplishments of the day? What is that going to do for you? Every day, and how tomorrow can I be better than today? What's going to do for you? You're going to realize that already when you start your day, you're going to think, what do I need to accomplish? I want to write something on my paper tonight. I want to be able to change something. What was it? What was the accomplishment of the day? Tomorrow maybe I'm going to be kinder in my way. I'm going to be more patient. Maybe I'm going to be more giving. Maybe I'm going to make a telephone to, etc., to call somebody. So make a phone call to someone and encourage them. Wish them Shabbat Shalom. You could start today. So this is the month to do it, to make it happen. So let us pray, Bezat Hashem, that God should make miracles as we create and go above our nature. Hashem will go above nature and take us out of this exile, bring us to a moment where we'll all be at peace with ourselves, at peace with our families, at peace with the world, and at peace with our most inner self, with God. And Bezat Hashem, with this, we will live a life which is completely miraculous. God bless you all. Shabbat Shalom. You can add certainly before Shabbat, ladies that knows who light Shabbat candles, to put some coins to tzedakah, and men as well, for the merit of our soldiers and everybody else. Thank you so much. Shabbat Shalom Uvorach.
Shabbat Shalom.